welcome Reform UK MP Lee Anderson. Now, despite not standing at the election, Reform's honorary president, Nigel Farage, is doing everything he can to push the party's election messaging to the nation. He's had a busy schedule booked in. He led a party press conference in Dover yesterday. He'll be appearing alongside Richard Tice at an immigration conference tomorrow and continuing on the campaign trail over the weekend. But Lee Anderson joins me now. Why is Nigel Farage the face of Reform when he's not even running, Lee?
Well, look, Patrick, you know that. Don't be so ridiculous. Nigel Farage has probably been the most influential politician in this country over the past 30 years or so. Look, I welcome the news that he's not standing, because I'll tell you why, Patrick. It means that he can come to places like Ashfield, like he is at the weekend, to campaign in my area to make sure that I get re-elected on July the 4th. This is great news for me. It's great news for Richard Tice, who is standing in Boston and Skegness. I want to see Nigel Farage all around the country, not just in one seat.
OK, all right. Are you not a bit put out, though, that they only want to talk to Nigel?
No, they want to talk to me. They want to talk to Richard. They want to talk to Ben Habib. Listen, Patrick, that's ridiculous journalism, by the way. You know, the people that contact me on a daily basis, I've got all the press, all the media from all over the country, including GB News, want to speak to me, want to speak to Nigel, want to speak to Ben, want to speak to Richard. It's not just Nigel. It's not just a one-man show. This is about reform. Reform of the party want to reform the country. The people of this country need an alternative to vote for. They're fed up to death of the Conservative Party and the Labour Party. They want an alternative.
There's an interesting thing doing the rounds today, Lee. So Richard Tice has told The Telegraph he's assembling a team of lawyers and KCs to fight Starmer's plan to apply VAT to private school fees, which he's branded discriminatory. So Tice says that stopping the charitable status of private schools, but not other charities, amounts to discrimination, as does applying VAT to private schools, but not universities. And the kicker is this, really. He says he's ready to use the ECHR to block the policy, despite that not being the biggest fans of our friends in Strasbourg. What do you make of Reform crawling over to the ECHR?
Well, Patrick, it's not. This is the irony of the ECHR, isn't it, really? You know, it's been our worst enemy, but, you know, in some parts, it can be our best friend, really.
You're making a case for it.
Exactly. This is the irony of the ECHR. It's so ridiculous that it could change a policy in our great country. But it's quite right, Richard is. You know, this is a spiteful policy. I used to work with men down the pit many, many years ago, doing a proper job, Patrick, which is alien to many people in this country, who would send their children to private school. These men would work 7 days a week down a coal mine to send their children to private school. These weren't rich men. These were just people who want the very best for their country. But this spiteful policy by the Labour Party will stop working class people sending their children to private school and get the very best education possible.
You don't think it just slightly undermine Reform's campaign if you go to the ECHR over something?
No, I think it's hilarious. I think it's absolutely hilarious that we can use something that we despise with a passion, and I despise the ECHR. It's absolutely hilarious that we can use this ridiculous organisation to overturn decisions.
If you pulled out of it, if we were not in the ECHR now, then you wouldn't be able to do anything about this policy, would you?
Well, we could win an election, Patrick, couldn't we? That's what we need to do, win an election.
All right. Now, look, Nigel Farage has claimed that if the Tories give him something in return for his, quote, huge favours over the years, then an election deal might be on the cards. Should we just have a little listen?
You know what? I got rid of Mrs May with the Brexit Party. I stood aside for Boris to help a massive majority. What are they going to do back for me?
What would you like?
What are they going to do back for me?
Peerage?
No. I've turned all that rubbish down in the past. Don't worry.
What about Sir Nigel Farage?
No. I'm not asking for anything other than I've done them some huge favours over the years as a party. Give me something back. We might have a conversation.
Well, Lee, should you cut a deal with the Tories? Are you going to cut a deal with the Tories?
Absolutely not, Patrick. This is silly season. In the next couple of days, we're going to enter the short campaign on the general election for this year. Nigel's teasing you. He's getting clicks on social media. He's getting clicks on GB News. This is Nigel being mischievous at his very best. There are no deals to be made. Now, I can give you an exclusive now, Patrick, on GB News. There's no way I would stand for Reform UK in the next election if there was any deals to be done with any party. That's a given.
So, all right. So, I mean, that is quite a bold claim to make, given that we have still got 5 and a bit weeks of an election campaign.
Well, there's a few days to go before I put my deposit in, Patrick. It's £500 for my deposit. And I'm telling you now, I will not stand for Reform UK if there's deals to be made.
OK, all right. Well, look, OK, we will have to see what happens there. No doubt that is a shot across the bows to Richard Tice and co, isn't it? But when I have a little look as well at some of the things that have been doing the rounds recently, you know, Nigel on Trevor Phillips, and this is an issue that I think is close to your heart as well, because you were dogged with Islamophobia claims for a while. We spoke about them on air as well. Nigel, you know, faced quite a lot of serious allegations over it. He was simultaneously accused of being both anti-Semitic and Islamophobic, which many people would regard as being quite the achievement if both of those things were true. Do you think that there is a bit of a racism cloud hanging over reform?
No, absolutely not, Patrick. It's absolutely not. This is what the left in politics do all the time. When they start losing the debate on any single subject, they always play the race card. It's absolute nonsense. Nigel Farage, I know him quite well. I class him as a friend. He is not racist. I've been accused in the past of being racist and Islamophobic. As yet, nobody can provide a shred of evidence to prove that I was Islamophobic or racist or anything like that. It's absolute nonsense. They use this all the time, Patrick.
What do you make of Rishi Sunak refusing to debate Nigel Farage? Again, some people said, well, look, what right does Nigel have to offer it out and when he's not actually standing? I mean, it would be quite a bizarre thing to do, wouldn't it? I do wonder if that is an aspect where Nigel has cost himself here, because if he was standing, then he's got more of a case to actually debate these people. Now they can just brush him away, can't they?
Well, I think as a Prime Minister, Patrick, he should be prepared and brave enough to debate anybody. And Nigel is a real threat. You know, when it comes to debating in public, there's nobody better in this country. Richard's got a fair point in that there's probably only him and Sir Keir Starmer that can be the PM, in 5 weeks' time. But, the public, the great British public, would love to see a debate with Nigel Farage, with Rishi Sunak and Sir Keir Starmer. They would love that, especially if it was on GB News.
Well, yeah, I mean, watch this space. Look, absolutely. And look, just to come back quickly on this, I know we focused a bit on the ECHR when it came to the private school stuff. I did see this legal action, and I just wondered, does that really resonate with a lot of Reform voters? Seriously, does it actually really resonate? The idea that Reform, is kind of the party of the working man, the person that's been sidelined left, right and centre, the person who's been forgotten about, we're going into bat for posh kids.
Well, listen, Patrick, I can honestly say in the donkey's years, I've been knocking on doors for three political parties, that private schools has never, ever come up on the doorstep. But it is an aspiration of working class people up and down the country to send their kids to the very best school. And this policy of the Labour Party puts that at risk.
OK, look, Lee, thank you very, very much. That is Lee Anderson. There is the Reform UK MP, and always a good sport, Lee. Thank you very, very much.